Tourism Month 2018 has kicked off, but the sector seems to be showing signs of slowing down. The latest numbers show a drop of 6.9% in international visitors' arrivals. To discuss this, we're joined by Tourism Business Council of South Africa's interim CEO, Tshifhiwa Tshivhengwa. A very good evening to you. Thank you for coming in. 6.9 drop in the arrivals of foreign visitors. Why are foreigners staying away?
Well, there are various factors that affect, the inbound tourism, as we call it, meaning the foreign visitors coming to South Africa. First of all, we divide our market into, the foreign visitors that are coming from, outside of Africa and those that are coming within Africa. Within Africa, we have those that are flying into South Africa and those that are crossing the land borders. Now, if you look at, the factors affecting, the numbers, it's plenty. You look at the image of the country, in terms of how it's portrayed by media, out there, you've got a lot of people who are aware of South Africa, but they don't have the positive awareness of South Africa. So that's affecting the numbers. Number two, we had the drought in the Western Cape. We had the whole issue of day zero. So the messaging behind that, when we were saying to, here in South Africa, when we were trying to conserve water in the, Western Cape, in hotels, restaurants, and other tourism products, we talk about, day zero is coming. The municipality was saying day zero is coming. And we had, the countdown calendar. So when tourists hear that, they start to think, why do I want to travel to a place where I may not have water? So that had a negative impact on the tourist numbers. We look at the forward, bookings, this year, it's going to be, it's not going to look so good. We're hoping that it rebounds. Probably towards the end of the year, and the numbers start to look positive. But, so far, it's not looking as positive. Another thing that probably had an impact is the World Cup in Russia. So a lot of people who are, in Europe and who are in North America, they probably decided that, instead of coming or traveling to any other country, we're going to spend our money at the World Cup. So that probably had an impact on the numbers.
So I want to talk about these numbers, especially international tourists who aren't coming here as much. A 6.9 drop was saying it was. Who has suffered most from that decline in arrivals?
So in the value chain of tourism, you've got, the international tour operators. Those are the guys that are sitting in international markets, be it in Germany, be it in the US, Italy, Australia, New Zealand, or wherever. Those are the guys that talk to the tourists in their own country, package the trips, together with their South African counterparts, which are the tour operators. And then the tour operators in South Africa, then they talk to your transport guys, your hotels, your attractions, and, the value chains start to come together. Now, who suffers the most? The hotels suffers the most because, the hotels are there, you hire X number of people, you're not getting, the same amount of people to sleep in those hotel rooms. Then you will suffer. Guys that are operating transport, tour buses, and guys that are, transporting people with shuttles, they will suffer. The attractions, these are the guys that are, attractions that are owned by individuals and also owned by government. They suffer because you're not getting the same volume of tourists coming into the attraction. So, when you look at it, the whole value chain is suffering. And right now, the tourism industry, regardless of these numbers, have managed to ensure that, we stay afloat, we keep the business going. You would have seen that, there are many discounts that are coming into play so that, the business stay afloat. And just to go back on the question, there's one thing that, I should have mentioned. Another barrier that we have seen that's preventing tourists to come here, it's issues of visas. If you look at visa regime that we have in South Africa and the issue of unabridged birth certificate, where families traveling to South Africa, maybe it's a one parent, and you're traveling with under 18-year-old kid, you need to have an unabridged birth certificate. It's problematic.
But it's done for security reasons. Home Affairs has been through this, so that's to say there's no way we can get around it if we're going to fight things such as child trafficking, for example. So do we not then focus on the safety aspect as well?
Yeah, we understand the safety aspect of children. And we know that, it's important that we keep our country safe. But we need to do it based on statistics. We need to look at, do we really have that big of a problem, with, children being, smuggled through the airports? We probably don't, but we still need to look at the numbers. We need to find solutions that are going to work that are, benchmark, that are world best models to make sure that, whatever we do, because all countries do this, but they do it in a smart way. We also need to do it in a smart way. So we need to fix that. We also need to fix the issue of, people in China, for example. If you want to travel to South Africa, you need a visa. How many offices do we have in China to issue visas? We have very few. In India, it's the same. We have very few. So we don't want people to make a trip in their own country to travel from one place to another to get a visa, to go back to their, to where they live and then prepare for the trip. We have to make it easy. We have to introduce things like e-visas, where people can apply online, do their biometrics when they get to the airport, so that we can get a free flow of tourists coming into the country and we can create more jobs.
Tshifhiwa, there's so much more that we could talk about as far as tourism in this country is concerned in Tourism Month, but we are terribly out of time. But I must thank you for coming on to News Hour tonight. That was Tourism Business Council of South Africa's interim CEO, Tshivhengwa speaking to us here on News Hour.